When they saw the body, the police thought it was just a normal kidnapping and murder case. The officer moved closer carefully, then he stepped forward. A sharp click suddenly broke the silence. The deadly trap was triggered. His partner misunderstood what he meant. In the next second, the body exploded on the spot, turning into a pile of dust. The smoke took a long time to slowly fade. The partner hiding behind was not seriously hurt, but the officer in front was not so lucky. His lower body was badly torn apart, both legs were blown into pieces. Timed bombs go off one after another at Tokyo Station. Hundreds of tired office workers rushing to work are thrown onto the railway tracks. Some die instantly while others in despair watch the train crush them into flesh. At this moment the man who made the bomb sits calmly in the interrogation room, smiling and speaking in riddles with the police. The next bomb will be even stronger. To stop all of this, the police must solve the riddle and race against death. The countdown begins and the case starts now. The male lead Suzuki looks gentle and easygoing, but he actually behaves in a strange and unpredictable way. Around 8 in the evening, he is arrested for fighting and is questioned by Officer Todoroki. According to Suzuki himself, his favorite baseball team lost the game, which made him extremely upset. When he went to buy alcohol, he realized he had no money. In a burst of anger, he hit someone. Todoroki told Suzuki to pay the shop owner 100,000 yen. The matter would be settled with no need for detention, but Suzuki could not even come up with a single yen. Instead he asked Todoroki to lend him the money. As a low-ranking detective at the bottom of Japanese society, Todoroki's salary was painfully small, so even if he wanted to help, he simply could not. After being refused, Suzuki suddenly asked Todoroki whether he would pay 100,000 for a key piece of information. In just a few minutes, it would be 10 o'clock at night, an explosion would happen in the busy Akihabara shopping street. Even though it sounded like a joke, Todoroki still chose to be careful and told his colleague ISE to report it to headquarters. ISE did not take it seriously either and slowly walked upstairs. The moment he pushed the door open, Akihabara exploded. "Officer, I actually quite like you. Other than you, I do not want to talk to anyone. My psychic power tells me there will be 3 more explosions from now on. The next explosion will happen 1 hour later." Even though this blast only caused a few minor injuries, the police did not dare to take any chances. The chief ordered Todoroki to act before the Metropolitan Police arrived and pry the truth out of Suzuki to stop the next bombings. After returning to the interrogation room, SE was in charge of taking notes. Todoroki lied and said a girl had died in the blast, accused Suzuki of being a cold-blooded monster. Suzuki quickly denied having anything to do with the bombing. He had only used his natural psychic power to predict that there was a bomb. "There is still time to turn back now. Tell us the next location. If something exciting happens, maybe my psychic power will come back, like letting me watch TV. Do you not have a phone? I do not know where it got thrown. Did I not say I was drunk?" This kind of ridiculous conversation left Todoroki speechless. What kind of crazy person is this? Checking the time again, it had already passed 11. ISE refreshed the web page and saw the latest explosion news. Suzuki's prediction came true for the second time. Tokyo Dome had turned into a bomb site. 2 people were seriously injured. The situation had completely gone out of control. The Metropolitan Police had no choice but to send elites to support the local station. Kiyomiya with gray hair was an experienced negotiator. Reich with curly hair was a highly talented rising star in the police. Todoroki, who got kicked out, was clearly unhappy, but he still chose to share his judgment. First, Suzuki guessed the locations right twice, which is definitely not some psychic power. Second, with Suzuki's personality, he is unlikely to have partners. Most likely he acted alone. This analysis was solid and well-reasoned. It made Reich look at Todoroki with new respect. He hoped Todoroki would not mind the arrangement and that everyone could work together sincerely to find the remaining bombs. Meanwhile, Suzuki in the interrogation room kept yawning and took the initiative to tell ISE a horror story. Back in middle school, the girl he secretly liked was brutally murdered on a snowy winter day. Her body lay in the vast snowfield. Her clothes were messy and her eyes wide open. At first, Suzuki was wrongly accused as the killer. Later, the real murderer was caught and his innocence was proven. He said the point of this story was to tell ISE that the police should not judge people by appearance and should not force false charges onto him. Just as he finished speaking, Kiyomiya and Reich walked in to greet him. They set up the camera to record. "Can you call Todoroki back?" "Sorry, we cannot meet that request." Suzuki had clearly stated before that he would only talk with Todoroki. The police could force a temporary replacement, but the condition was not to change the interrogation room. Kiyomiya did not realize that Suzuki's compromise was actually a deeply hidden setup. The interrogation that followed was called the ninetailes game, answering 9 questions at a time. Suzuki would reveal the shape of Kiyomiya's heart and the prediction for the next explosion. Throughout the whole question and answer session, Suzuki gave off the feeling of someone talking in riddles. No one could figure out what he really meant. If you say he is not normal, what he says still sounds quite clear, but if you say he is normal, none of his sentences seem to connect, like he is saying whatever comes into his head. When they reached the 5th question, Suzuki suddenly clapped his hands. This is the moment. The time was exactly midnight. Another police officer's name came out of his mouth, Hasabe Yuko. ISE immediately reported it upstairs. The chief who was arranging the search operation went pale the moment he saw that name. Hasabe was a senior officer with no interest in promotion and only wanted to help the younger officers rise. Even the chief saw Hasabe as a benefactor. Maybe the pressure from solving cases was too much. One day Hasabe was actually at a murder scene when he pulled down his pants and gratified himself. This not only ruined the crime scene, it also shamed the honor of the Japanese police. Hasabe was overwhelmed with shame and in the end jumped onto the train tracks. What Kiyomiya could not understand was Hasabe's death had absolutely nothing to do with the bombing case, so what was Suzuki trying to say? Suzuki only smiled and said nothing. He kept showing off his attention-seeking side. Kiyomiya asked whether Suzuki had any family, trying to find a motive through his social ties. Suzuki said he was all alone in the world. Even if he appeared on TV, no one would care about his ordinary face. Even so, Kiyomiya still sharply noticed that Suzuki had just gotten a haircut. His hair looked neat and fresh. Who helped you cut your hair? What is wrong with that? Is it not allowed? I was just asking. The conversation paused here. After holding it in for a long time, Suzuki asked to use the restroom, taking advantage of this break. The police printed out Suzuki's photo and ordered patrol officers to search nearby. In the interrogation room, the questioning reached the 8th question. Suzuki asked Kiyomiya why teams are named dragons or tigers, but no one names a team Minotaur. Even though Minotaur sounds powerful, does Minotaur taste good? When will the barbecue arrive? While saying these random and unrelated things, Suzuki slowly raised his fingers. Kiyomiya thought he had gone crazy, but Reich sensed a hidden meaning. At this moment, the officer had a sudden realization. When Suzuki talked about barbecue, he mentioned beef tongue. In katakana, it translates to kadanshita. Reich stopped playing word games. He directly pointed it out on the board. The next explosion site hinted by Suzuki was the newspaper office located in Kadanshita. The police immediately sealed off the building and searched every possible place thoroughly. Curious crowds gathered outside to watch. Koda and Yabuki were so tired their backs were about to break, yet they could not even find a single match. Yabuki suddenly had an idea. Remembering the motorcycles used to deliver newspapers, they stopped one of them and found an iPhone under the seat. The bomb squad was fully geared up and dismantled 9 motorcycles, but the last one had already reached a residential building. At this moment, there were only 10 seconds left. Yabuki pushed the throttle to the limit without hesitation. A simple analysis showed the explosive was black powder along with a TATP detonator. Anyone who makes bombs knows these materials are easy to obtain and easy to mass produce. Surveillance showed Suzuki had applied for a delivery job at the newspaper yesterday. Even though he did not get hired, he had been close to the motorcycles parked outside. Suzuki first denied the accusation, then made a 4th prediction. The bomb would explode at 11 at noon, so where would it be placed this time? Suzuki gave a new hint. He once fell to the bottom and became a homeless man. Sleeping in the park felt quite comfortable, but he was always woken up by cheerful singing nearby. It was children. Kiyomiya stayed calm. Is the location a kindergarten or a preschool? But he turned and reminded Kiyomiya that this clue was not complete. While Reich was still troubled thinking about it, Suzuki went to the restroom for the 2nd time. SE, who had stayed with him all night, could not help but want to punch Suzuki. This guy is carrying out random terror attacks. He is simply unforgivable. Suzuki then offered a deal on his own. As long as ISE did not hit him, he would give him 2 valuable pieces of information, enough to guarantee ISE a promotion and a raise. First, when Suzuki became homeless, he met a friend. Later that friend found a place to stay and even let him stay there for 2 days. Second, Suzuki said his phone was lost somewhere. The phone contained a lot of embarrassing things. If ISE could find that phone, he would be deeply grateful. ISE was very tempted, but he was currently responsible for taking the interrogation notes, so he had no way to leave. Under Suzuki's encouragement, ISE sent the tip to Yabuki. Yabuki was searching for bombs at the kindergarten. He took Koda to a bar and got a phone from the front desk that had been smashed to pieces. The phone could not be turned on, but there was an address stuck on the back. When Koda and Yabuki followed that address, Yoyogi Park exploded several kilometers away. It was obvious that Suzuki had completely fooled Kiyomiya. Reich's worry had become real. They had solved the previous clue the wrong way. The answer was not the kindergarten, it was the park. More than a dozen homeless people were killed in the blast. The scene was too horrible to look at. Faced with Suzuki's mocking taunts right to his face, Kiyomiya's pride completely collapsed. He grabbed the finger Suzuki stretched out, twisting it by force into an S shape. Seeing the old superior lose control, ICE hurriedly turned off the camera. If this became evidence and was submitted, Kiyomiya would definitely lose his police uniform. In fact, Suzuki had already seen this step coming. He was like the Joker in Gotham City, trying to shatter the sense of justice inside every police officer. In the first round, Kiyomiya lost badly, so where is the next opponent? If the police still want to stop the bomb from exploding, then they need to send someone fast to face him in the second round. While Suzuki mocked the police in the interrogation room, the police were investigating his motive from the outside, eager to make a name for themselves. Kota and Yabuki followed the address stuck on Suzuki's phone and arrived at a remote private house. They pushed the door open and a foul smell hit them in the face. Household garbage covered the place so badly they could barely walk. The place was such a pigsty that even a dog would not live there. As they stepped into the dark living room, the table was piled with all kinds of chemical equipment. Yabuki followed a trail of dirty blood and found a projector playing Hasabe's final message, saying he was not worthy of being a police officer and even less worthy of being a father. Hasabe was relieving stress at a murder scene and made a mess all over the floor. Todoroki accidentally saw the whole thing and felt shocked and heartbroken. He agreed to keep this embarrassing secret on the condition that Hasabe go see a therapist, but somehow the story still got out later. The media angrily called Hasabe a disgrace to the Japanese police. Hasabe was too ashamed to keep living. After leaving his final words, he jumped onto the train tracks and died. In a way his death freed him, but the problem was that the trains had to stop running. The cleanup brought a huge compensation bill. His wife Asuka sold their house just to cover that massive loss. Even so, public opinion still would not let the family go. Online users kept cursing Hasabe's son Takao, saying like father like son, Takao must also be a twisted creep. Furious, Takao ran away from home. From that day on, Asuka fell into severe depression, only managed to survive those dark years by relying on medication. Yabuki went to investigate Suzuki's social connections. Asuka looked at the photo and said she had no memory of him at all. So why was Suzuki repeatedly mentioning Hasabe's name during the interrogation? After walking through the living room, Yabuki pushed open a door and saw a body with a plastic bag over her head. It looked like he had been dead for quite a while. The next second, Yabuki stepped onto the carpet. This time things looked really bad. The blast this time was terrifying. The body was blown into pieces all over the room. At the cost of both his feet, Yabuki managed to save Kota's life. On the other side, the interrogation of Suzuki entered the second round. Kiyomiya had originally lost his confidence and wanted the Metropolitan Police Department to bring in someone else. The chief immediately said changing people was fine, but if anyone died again, then Kiyomiya would have to take the blame. Leave it to me, I will finish the job. After making that firm promise, Kiyomiya handed the burden over to Reich. Reich's style was completely different from Kiyomiya's. The moment he walked in, he cursed Suzuki as a damned monster. Suzuki shouted in excitement, "This is exactly the feeling I wanted." The moment he finished speaking, news came that Yabuki had lost his legs to amputation. ISE realized he had almost gotten his friend killed. He said he would confess every crime Suzuki had hidden, but Suzuki only smiled calmly. "All that stuff I said before about middle school girls, I was just messing with you. I have never even heard of what you are talking about." SE was played by Suzuki like a fool. Reich immediately gave his own deduction. "You led Yabuki step by step to that rental room, so you must know Hasabe's son Takao." He believed that after Takao ran away from home, he wandered in the park and during that time he met Suzuki. The two quickly hit it off and decided to build bombs to destroy the corrupt Japanese society. Reich's way of thinking was not like a police officer but more like a criminal. Suzuki said he did not understand him. Reich replied that he could truly relate. He had also thought about killing people countless times, but it always stayed just a thought. A person should be judged by actions not by thoughts. Who has never had dark thoughts before? It is too troublesome and not worth it. The two stared at each other and burst into laughter. It looked like they understood each other, but in truth it was a battle between experts. Because at this moment, the second round had only just begun, a video that had been scheduled in advance started spreading across the internet. It was Suzuki's confession in front of the camera. He spoke at a very fast pace. "I will kill feminists because they are too arrogant. I will kill foreigners, they are all spies or gang members. I will kill criminals since they will just offend again. I want to kill those who do not have children because they do not carry on the family line. I will kill the rich because they make people jealous. I want to kill lawyers because they think too highly of themselves. I most want to kill the Prime Minister of Japan because politicians are inhuman." Just when everyone thought Suzuki was insane, he suddenly changed his tone and said everything he just said was forced. He was hypnotized by the real culprit. He himself was also a victim. After watching this completely absurd video, Kota left the hospital in silence. As she rushed back to the police station, the video spread rapidly across the internet. People treated Suzuki like entertainment, liking, sharing and saving the video but not believing a single word. At this moment, new investigation results came in. Above the floor where Yabuki was blown up, they found the bodies of two more victims, one of them named Kaito. Both had died from poison with foam coming out of their mouths. Reich asked Suzuki if he knew these two guys. Suzuki shook his head and denied it. In fact, Kaito once worked at the Kadanshita newspaper, so Suzuki was clearly lying again. Reich's judgment was Takao, as the son of a police officer and also a chemistry major in college, was likely the mastermind behind the bombing group. As for someone like Suzuki, who was just a drifter, at most he was only a small errand runner. If you press the button, a certain district in the country will be hit by a bomb. Many people will die but you will get a large sum of money. But even if you do not press it, the bomb will still fall. So in that case, would you press it or not? Suzuki's passionate speech sounded like cynical nonsense, but in reality it was a preview of the fifth explosion, in the second video that was released after. He told the viewers watching online that when the views reached 10 million, hundreds of bombs would explode at the same time. There would be no safe place in Tokyo except for the police station where he was being held. What he meant was every viewer contributing to the view count was an accomplice to murder. Only then did Reich suddenly realize no wonder Suzuki refused to be moved for interrogation. His ultimate target was the police station. Before that, they had to find where the bombs were. Reich believed that since Takao led the plan, the place where his father Hasebi committed suicide would be the primary target. Before he could finish speaking, Kota rushed into the interrogation room. Ise reacted instantly, first kicking the camera away, then jumping forward. If he had not stopped her, Kota would have beaten Suzuki into a vegetative state. Right now she wanted nothing else but to shoot Suzuki dead. Ise quickly stopped her. He even pinned her to the ground to stop her from doing anything stupid. Todoroki was still out there investigating. Back then reporters kept asking Todoroki how he judged Hasebi's actions. Todoroki answered with only 3 words, "I understand him." Those words caused a huge uproar, even forced the chief to come out and bow in apology. Todoroki lost his chance at promotion, but Todoroki did not regret it. Instead he believed that society itself was sick. Because of one stain against public morality, people completely denied a person's whole character. But who in this world is perfect? As a colleague who had gone through life and death with him, even if he could live it all again, he would still protect Hasebi. As he spoke, Todoroki's eyes landed on a bottle of mineral water. Suddenly he got an idea. At this moment the police were still struggling over whether to seal off the station. They had sent out hundreds of people to inspect every corner but still found no sign of any bomb. More and more exhausted workers kept gathering there. Compared with maybe getting blown up, being fired for showing up late felt even scarier. The person in charge who was about to lose control asked the chief for permission to reopen the station. Kiyomiya firmly refused to reopen it. If something really happens, you will not escape the blame either. At the most critical moment, Todoroki revealed the truth over the phone. Do you remember one of the dead men was called Tanaka? He was a beverage delivery worker and was responsible for restocking the vending machines at the station. Sadly Todoroki spoke too late. The chief was too worried about public pressure and ordered the station to reopen early. The entire Tokyo Loop line turned into ruins within minutes with the dead and injured numbering in the thousands. Suzuki smugly fired back, "Was that chain explosion move awesome? What is there to be proud of in causing destruction?" Besides this, bombing was not even planned by Suzuki. Kiyomiya firmly opposed reopening and you could not name the exact station. The reason was simple. Because you were never really one of them. Todoroki noticed the same flaw. If the plan was to set a trap and kill police officers, then the moment Kota and Yabuki entered the room, the bomb could have been triggered, unless there was some reason why the body had to be blown to pieces. Todoroki made a bold guess. It was Suzuki who set the trap that killed Takao. Asuka used to be a hairstylist and makeup artist. She was the one who cut Suzuki's hair. The second video was a signal meant for Asuka. The last small bomb was in Asuka's hands. Suzuki wanted to use the explosion to cover up the fact that Asuka murdered Takao. Back when they lost the house over the compensation, Asuka's depression got worse and she became homeless in the park. Which was how she met Suzuki. Because of all the help and care Asuka gave him, Suzuki came to see her as his soulmate. Later when Asuka went to visit her son, she accidentally discovered the bodies of Tanaka and Kaito and learned that Takao planned to use bombs to take revenge on society. Asuka fell into total despair. The family that had finally started to recover was about to be destroyed all over again. In a dazed state, Asuka picked up a pair of scissors and stabbed Takao to death. After coming back to her senses, Asuka had no choice but to ask Suzuki for help. "Do you feel like Asuka used you, so you even threw away the hat she gave you?" In other words, on one hand Suzuki was repaying her kindness, on the other hand he believed that even bad fame was still fame. He was willing to bet his rotten life on it to create a bombing case that would be infamous forever, making his life feel worth it. So he planted bombs in places like Akihabara, making the police believe all the explosions were his work. As for the final third round, the battleground would be the police station. In the video, he deliberately said only the station was safe. That line drew tens of thousands of people there. Then he would have Asuka bring the bomb. She would follow your instructions and use the final bomb to end everything. The police all knew Asuka so no one would stop her. Once Asuka entered the building, she only needed to dial a specific number and everything would be over. But unfortunately this was not the ending. That was not the final bomb. You never intended to kill Asuka and you did not want to end the game. The real final bomb was still in Suzuki's hands. As long as he refused to speak, the police would have to keep playing this game with him. Homeless people are seen by society as a burden. Fewer of them is considered better. But once he became a bomber, as long as he did not detonate it, Suzuki would always be needed by the police, becoming the center of attention. At the end of the story, Reich tells us through narration that the final bomb was never found. In this confrontation Suzuki still won. He went from a physical bomber to a creator of psychological bombs. Whether that bomb really existed no longer mattered. What mattered was that across society, He planted seeds of doubt, fear and desire in people's hearts. The bomb was not outside but inside every person. It not only echoed the title but also pointed to a philosophical question we all should think about: how should we face the darkness within ourselves? That might be the most powerful explosion the movie leaves for the audience.